It's hard to be fully present with someone when you have anxiety. You know why? Because I care too much. I do not just think the worst, I pretend it's a reality. And physically get the pain of stomach turning and overgrown emotions within me, causing sweating and heavy breathing. However, how do you tell someone that the reason you're acting like a twat is not because they just got hit by a car, instead because of a certain way they said something, or the fact that a hug felt a little weird? Little things that they did not even consider a problem are a massive problem within my brain. It's a problem I do not know how to solve. I cannot be a man when I am wrapped up in a ball of twisted emotions and physical pain. It's not being insecure. It's being so present and having a mental health condition that affects every aspect of that presence. I cannot seem to shake that inner question within me of what if all the fucking time. What if she hates me? What if I am not good enough? What if what I am doing now affects the people around me and their futures? People ask me, what is the best thing to do as a friend or a partner when you have anxiety? My answer is to be open and talk to me. However, when I need space, give that to me too. It hurts to know how pathetic it can seem sometimes, or I can seem sometimes. It's hard to come up with a reason to convince myself that the way I am is okay. You're not being that annoying cow everyone presumed you to be. No matter how much I know about anxiety, however, it still hurts each time. It restricts my freedom to enjoy life as it is and to not worry if what comes next is going to destroy you or me. Not even just the worry, but the physical pain. The hurt that waves deep within me and the dying sweat of pure feeling that I need to move around all the time. The consistent beg for more in my head and the answers to things that I should not need answers for. Who knows how I might react one day? That may bring me to beg for too much and suffer the pain of feeling pain. You give me a solution to a problem that is caused by another problem. It's difficult to configure. That's a piece of writing that I writ up recently for a project I'm working on. It's a piece of writing that honestly reflects my anxiety. The thing that restricts me in ways I never thought I could be restricted. A restriction that I didn't choose or decide to have in my life, but is there no matter what I decide to do. It's like that deep thing within you that doesn't seem to want to leave you alone. Wants to change your perspective on every aspect of your life and dig into every part of your existence. It wants to cause you physical pain of stomach turning and sweat-provoking hands and general panic about things that most people don't even consider a problem in their daily life. It likes to have answers to things that I shouldn't even need answers for. And a lot of people consider weird me wanting to know answers for. It's that one condition that not many people understand or know how to treat or deal with, or can even relate to. But so many people on this earth have it, and it affects them in ways I can't even describe. Today, I am going to go into the deepest analysation of my life that I will ever give to you. Talk about my anxiety and how it affects every aspect of my life, and try and make you guys who have anxiety out there feel a tiny bit better, that you know that there are ways of coping and that there is someone out there who can relate. Now, I'm not even going to do an intro for this because I don't think it needs one, because this video is so darn personal. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. If you don't know me personally and you kind of just watch my YouTube channel, you watch me sit in front of a camera, talk about mental health and be passionate and try and help people, you probably wouldn't think that my life is very difficult. Or you probably wouldn't think that I face many challenges in my life. You'd probably think that my life is pretty easy. And I'm sorry to break it to you, and I'm sorry to break it to myself more or less, but that's not the case. My life, at any point, has never been easy, and I don't think anyone's is. But I have faced my fair few of very difficult challenges. Now, as some of you may have noticed, and as I've addressed at the beginning of one of my videos in the most recent weeks, I've moved rooms. I've changed setup, and I've changed recording space. Part of the reason was to make content much better for you, and to make things more enjoyable. But the real reasons are much deeper than that. This is where I should live. This is where I should be every day of my life, but sadly I'm not. This is my real parents' house. This would be my real room. Now, whoa, before you freak out, before you're like, whoa, what the heck is he talking about? How comes suddenly he's moved in with his real parents? Like, didn't he live with them before? Sadly, to the diverse perception, no I don't. Under law, I don't live with my real parents, and haven't for the last 10 years of my life. And it's only recently that I've managed to get back in here legally and spend time with the people who I've missed for 10 years of my life. It was a very emotional time. The place that you've seen in all my other videos with that very weird background, that place where I have to sit on a bed to film videos with my legs crossed with backache like no other, is not my home. Well, it is my home, but it's not the home I want to be, and it's not my parents' home. I'm a foster child, or now under a guardianship order. I was removed from my biological parents at the ages of around 6 or 7. For reasons I'm not going to disclose, because I feel like there's certain things that do have to remain private. But I don't think I have to tell you much more than the fact that I was removed for you to get a kind of little bit of a, view on what my life was like. But all I can say is that 10 years ago, I was not like this. This was not me, and I definitely was not this confident, was not this knowledgeable about mental health. I probably wouldn't have even been able to spell my own name. I'm going to put a picture on screen right now of me approximately 10 years ago. Probably a bit of an overestimate, but something along the lines of that. Here it is. This is me sitting across from a table eating some random dessert from a social worker. The social worker who put me in the situation I was in and removed me from my parents. For good reason. Them reasons are so personal that I'm not going to explain them. But all I can say is I was extremely underdeveloped. At that point, I should have been acting like a 7 or 6 year old. I was probably mentally and physically more like a 3-year-old. I didn't know how to write my own name. I was still wearing nappies, and quite frankly, I could barely speak English. I couldn't even walk up the stairs. I used to crawl up the stairs. But more importantly, I didn't know how to socialise. And I definitely didn't know how to read or write. Let's remember that this is at the ages of 7 or 6. There's some kids that know how to do algebra at that age. Along with the underdevelopment, which was caused by my childhood, which again I'm not going to explain. Come along anxiety. I had an extremely insecure attachment with my parents, causing overwhelming insecurities and soul detachment, which caused severe anxiety and general mental health conditions, which have took a fucking lot of work to get to where I am today. That anxiety has come with me through my entire life, and it's still here now, as sad as it is. It used to be so bad that I could not even sit in a class full of kids without screaming, without believing that I was going to get hurt, injured, or tortured. I was that terrified. I used to scream at teachers. I used to cry at absolutely anything. You could have poked me on the arm and I would have thought you were going to attack me. I would literally have screamed. I couldn't socialise. I didn't actually know how to. And growing up was a roller coaster of many different challenges. I had to go from being a mentally developed 3-year-old to the age I should have been within a couple of years before I hit high school and the real work began. Otherwise, I may have not been able to qualify in anything, and possibly would have been severely, severely uneducated. Luckily, that didn't happen, because I'm here. I think the main reason I wanted to tell you that, and give you a bit of a hint into that, is to give the people who do have anxiety out there a bit of inspiration. There's a lot of people with anxiety out there that feel lonely, feel like no one understands them, that they're pathetic, that they're vulnerable, and that they've got nothing to live for. Because the barrowing feeling of stomach turning, sweating, and very much overreaction to absolutely anything makes you feel like you are the biggest odd one out ever, and sometimes affects your social and career life like no other. So when you think these things, when you feel like you're lonely, when you feel like no one else understands, I want you to remember this video and look at my past, which I've partially explained to you. I mean, there's still a lot more of it, the basics of my past, and look at me now. I'm not going to say it was easy to get to where I am now, but just look at me now. You can do anything you want if you work at it. And I learned that the hard way. Anxiety is one of these conditions that you have, and for many years you don't even know you have it. You don't understand why you feel a certain way or have a certain thing, but slowly you start to learn what it is. And once you've identified what it is, suddenly even more panic sets in because you then think you're not normal. The main symptom of anxiety is overthinking. Severe overthinking. I don't mean just basic overthinking. I mean overthinking absolutely everything. Every message your friend sends in, you're analysing like no other business. On a regular basis, you're thinking about how you're going to change the world. On a regular basis, you're thinking about how people are going to judge you for absolutely pathetic things, like you have a slight cut in your shoe. When your friend doesn't reply to a text within an hour, suddenly it's like the end of the world. You're sweating, you're panicking, and suddenly like it feels like the world's just overtoppling you. Social interaction is extremely difficult because of this, and it causes quite a lot of problems in friends and social life. It's actually more scary than it is painful. Suddenly, you're not thinking, you don't believe like everyone else does. And it's hard to get people to understand that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many ways of having anxiety, many different symptoms, and people suffer in different ways. I'm just talking about from my own personal experience, and hopefully a bunch of you will relate. There are many different triggers of anxiety, and many people have many different things that do trigger it. I'm just talking from personal experience here. Growing up suddenly becomes so much harder. Puberty is now even harder than it already was. Making friends is like trying to battle two battles at the same time, because you don't think like any other human being. You think about every aspect of that friendship, every effect it has on you. You think you're being judged 24/7, and you're never really settled. Relationships come in, and suddenly you're faced with even more challenges. You can no longer plan for that relationship, because relationships are spontaneous. Anything can happen at any time. And a lot of people don't cope well with anxiety when that's the case. There's times you go to bed at night and you might not sleep for hours, not because your day has been shit. Your day might have been absolutely perfect. But because you're now sitting there analysing every aspect of that day, questioning everything you did, thinking how you could have done it better, thinking how your friends now think of you. Your brain is begging for answers to questions again you shouldn't need to answer. Meaning school is disturbed because you've no longer got the mental energy to go into school each day. Exams are like another battle in itself. Because, again, there is no plan to an exam. It is random and the questions are complete bollock. That's the life of my anxiety, and probably many other people watching this also feel the same. It's the overthinking of absolutely everything. But it's not just overthinking, it's the physical pain that comes along with it, which truly hurts. The anxiety attacks, the stomach turning, the sweating, the heavy breathing that you can no longer get control of. The feeling that every time someone does something, you're analysing it like it's a military mission. You know, most people, when they receive a message from someone, think, okay, cool, he just wants me for something. When I get a message saying, hey, I don't just think, oh yeah, they want me for something. I'm then adding up every possible scenario of what they're going to say next and how I'm going to approach it. And as soon as they say something, like if I'm texting my girlfriend, and suddenly she doesn't put an X at the end of a message, instead of just being like, oh yeah, she just forgot or couldn't be bothered, I'm thinking, does she love me? Does she think this? Does she think that? Does she think this? Does she think that? And then thoughts go around in my head several hundred times and could cause a panic attack if I don't get control of them. It's a very lonely world to live in, and a lot of people don't understand it. Anxiety is well known, but it's not very well understood by many. So from my past, to all the things I just explained, to the symptoms I said I had, let me go through some tips on how I've learnt to get to where I am today, start my own brand, be able to sit in front of a camera and talk to you guys, and not have a fit. A lot of people today who have anxiety struggle to accept the fact that no counsellor, no therapist, no parent, no friend is ever going to be able to fully understand you and your individual symptoms and individual things that cause your anxiety. As sad as it is, that is never going to be the case. As sad as it is, a lot of the battle you face will be within you. It will be your own self-learning and self-care. Your own figuring out of what helps you and what doesn't. Learning to teach yourself that the only way other people are going to understand you is by you talking to them. And for a lot of us who have anxiety, that is extremely difficult. But it's probably the most important thing, is learning that at some point, if you want to get on, you are going to have to tell someone about it, and they're going to have to be understanding enough to help and support you with it. So my first piece of advice to anyone is if you have any symptoms of anxiety where you feel anxious around everyone, you feel uneasy at all times, maybe you overthink every aspect of your life, maybe you've got stomach turning, maybe you sweat repulsively in certain situations, any of these simple symptoms, please talk to someone about it. Don't hold it in. It's never going to help you. Anxiety is much worse left deep within you rather than it is when it's open and you're talking to people about it. Every single one of my friends, every single one of my family know I have anxiety and know how to cope with it. They didn't teach themselves. That's not because they're extraordinary people. I mean, most of them are. That's because I've sat down and had them chats with them that we all fear. And it's made my life a whole lot easier. Something else is, don't think that just because you've got anxiety and everything seems like this big task to you and uses up so much of your mental energy, which trust me it does, each day is like going to over, that you're not capable of anything. I mean, look at me, for God's sake. It's learning how to cope, which is the hard part. So my second tip is learning about yourself. Learning what triggers your anxiety. When you become really anxious, sit back, if you can, take a deep breath, and be like, 1 second, what am I anxious about? Write it down on a piece of paper. Scribble down every single piece of thought you have, and figure out what caused it. Sometimes there won't be a cause and it's just random, which is okay as well. But once you can start to figure out what causes your anxiety, pinpoint it, write it down, get it in your head, you can start to adapt your life to make sure that your anxiety is not as bad, because you'll be able to avoid them triggers or make them triggers a lot less triggerish, if you know what I mean. No one's going to be able to help you if you don't understand your own anxiety and what triggers it and what doesn't. No one's going to be able to do that for you. That's up to you. My next tip is surround yourself with people who are understanding of your anxiety. If there's people in your life right now who are against it, or put you down because of it, or think you're not as good of a person because you have it, get them out of your life right away. They are going to make your life even harder than it already is. It's not worth it. Surround yourself with people who are willing to adapt your friendships and relationships to suit your anxietal needs. It makes your life a hell of a lot easier. Not saying that's going to be easy, and that could take several years. Trust me, it has with myself. But once you get to the point where you're able to, go up to your friend quite comfortably and talk about your anxiety, and they're very open and easy to, they're very open about it and are up for talking about it, it allows you to know that, not everyone's going to judge you. And it also gives you that support when it's needed. Starting off doing that with friends is probably the better option than jumping into relationships and doing it. Just get used to being open about it. Expressing your needs, wants, and having that supportive friend there who's always on call if you need them. So once you've done all of that, you've got that supportive friendship group. You've got something that, you've realised that you have it, and that it's not going to stop you. It just means you're a bit different to everyone else. And, there's things that do need to be adjusted in your life to adapt to that. That doesn't mean you're not interesting. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean you're pathetic or a loser. It just makes you a tiny bit more interesting. It means your brain works slightly differently to everyone else. Once you've realised all that, and your friends are aware of it, you've started to learn how to talk about it. Start to learn how you can move into certain aspects of your life and stop that anxiety. Learning coping mechanisms, such as meditation, doing art, listening to certain types of music helps some people. Exercise helps some people. Talking to people helps others. And sometimes just shutting a door and sitting in a dark room and doing some heavy breathing or bursting into tears is even a coping mechanism. Learning what one helps you. Go out with a friend one day, when you're anxious, and go and do some exercising. See if it helps. Maybe one night when you're in your room really anxious about something that you did in the day, sit down, do some heavy breathing, get up a video on YouTube of meditation. I'll link a few in the description. And do some meditation. Once you get them coping mechanisms now down, you can use them effectively, and life starts to become a tiny bit easier. But most importantly, realise to yourself that it's not always going to be as simple as using these coping mechanisms and having these amazing friends. You are going to get down, you are going to have anxiety attacks, and things are going to get shit sometimes. That is now a part of your life, and that's never going to change. Even myself, a dude who literally is a mental health enthusiast, has probably read so much mental health shit I can't explain, still struggles till this day. And I'm pretty intelligent in knowing how to cope with it. I know every single coping mechanism I've ever used, and they all work very effectively. It's accepting that which is the hard part. Knowing that it's okay to be down in the dumps sometimes and to just want to cry. It's okay. You are a tiny bit different to everyone else, meaning you do have to give yourself some slack sometimes. I mean, everyone else should give themselves slack, but you even more so. So, try all these different things. Work on all these different things. I'm not saying they're going to come to you immediately. Some of these things take ages to get used to. But if you're starting to learn that you have anxiety, these are the key things I would advise working on. Learning to talk about it. Learning that it's okay to talk about. Many people out there are very understanding about it. It's just finding them people. Then getting a supportive group of friends who are open and honest about it. Able to talk to you about it and support you through it no matter what. But most importantly, accept you for it. Next, find yourself hobbies. Find yourself something that you love to do that allows you to stay calm and relaxed and your anxiety doesn't bother you. And learn your coping mechanisms. Try some of the ones I suggested. Doing meditation, drawing, scribbling notes, writing down a bunch of thoughts, keeping a diary, doing exercise, listening to music often. Even, in my case, yes, I'm a weirdo, I have Chinese balls on my desk. Yeah, it's not like I love Chinese balls, but it's to help my anxiety. When I get anxious, I pull these out of this box, and I ring them. You know, I just sit here, and I do this. The people downstairs know I do it, so it doesn't look weird. And all it does is it helps me, because I can hear the continuous ringing of the bells, and that helps me control my breathing, and also is just a nice noise in the background. Anxiety is something that can be controlled. It's just accepting it and, you know, getting yourself motivated to go out there and actually learn how to cope with it. That's the hard part. Remember that it's okay to seek professional help. It's okay to go out there and say that I need therapy. And if anyone ever judges you for going to therapy, kick them out of your life quicker than a shoe ball. They don't deserve you. I just thought I'd be very open about this. I'd explain the very basics of my past, explain my anxiety and how it feels socially and generally during the day, to try and allow you guys to sympathise with me and make you feel like you're not alone. Because I can tell you now, you're not. It's actually probably one of the most common mental health conditions out there today. And you will get through it. So, if you like the tips I've provided, if you feel like you're no longer alone and there's someone out there to support you, smash that like button. From that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope everyone's well. And I'll catch all you dudes next time. Bye-bye.